A genius, magical talent that seems to have been driven by the blessings of heaven. It is said that the depth of its strength is immeasurable. Level 180. It is truly overwhelming. Oh my. I never expected to see Dorothy Hart Nova like this in real life. It's okay to be like this. But it was so pretty that I lost my mind. Perhaps it is because she is the character I love the most, so I have been looking forward to seeing her. The ribbon of her school uniform had a small brooch set with blue jewels. Blue symbolized the second grade. I was training. Who is that senior? I tried to keep my composure and asked the opposite of what I was doing here. Just asked Dorothy had already guessed why she fell from the sky. He must have come down from the air to admire the natural scenery. After all, I guess I just used the corner of my garden as a fall point today. Me. You saw it was falling from the sky. Then why are you falling from the sky? I was watching the rain clouds gather. I fell because there was nothing more to see. Dorothy replies with a smile. If you go up that high, you can see the horizon. I like the border between the sunset sky and the sea. It is very romantic to watch the sunset over the horizon. You start talking about things you don't even know about in an excited voice. Read at Noble Metal. I especially like the moment when rain clouds are formed. Does it have to be aesthetically pleasing? Therefore, I was looking around while flying, and I said, now it's done, and fell. Nihi, Dorothy said innocently. The fact that she was able to see the horizon while levitating was thanks to starlight magic, which manipulates natural forces such as gravity, electromagnetic force, strong force, and weak force. It is a different realm from floating the body with wind magic. By the way, what kind of training? Ice properties. Why are you here? Have you ever been alone? What magic were you using? How many stars do you know? He came up to me with slow steps and baptized me with questions. Because she is a pretend with a lot of curiosity. I thought so. In fact, the question she posed would not contain any curiosity or interest. It's just acting to loosen the other person's heart. Dorothy is friendly to others, but no matter how close she gets, she doesn't open her heart very well. Put on the mask of a smiling face and keep an invisible distance from others. It's the exact opposite of Luce Altania. She is indifferent to others. But when she starts to open her heart, she opens it up. It's because they don't know how to keep a proper psychological distance. Wow. Swish. Dorothy put her face close to me. This one is for that little chicken owl. Ooh. In embarrassment, I reflexively tilted my head back. She always smiles at every moment so that viewers can get a crush on her. But that smile has a lot of pretense mixed in. Under the witch hat, the cosmic eyes were staring into my eyes as if they were trying to pierce my heart. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uumtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Not an analogy. She can really see through the heart. A passive skill that can be used thanks to the deep sea ring. Psychological insight. Dorothy can use a similar skill called emotional insight. Fear, affection, longing, love, friendship, etc. It allows you to know what kind of feelings the person you make eye contact with is holding you. In addition, she also has the unique characteristic of thousands of things. Thanks to this, you can see through things like the essence of living things. But the specific scope doesn't even appear in the game. To add to Dorothy's mystery? Well, things like the ability to see through the essence come out all over the place later. Should I say that it is reduced to the basic knowledge of high-level characters? You know me. Again, the mind was pierced. I don't know how my mental state would be reflected to her, but it doesn't look bad. I can't answer I know because I played Magic Knight of Marchin, so I decided to make up a little bit of my answer. Yes, it's Dorothy Senpai. Dorothy tilted her head as if it wasn't a very satisfactory answer. When I thought about it and answered it, it was an understandable response. It's strange not knowing Dorothy Hart Nova at the Marchin Academy. The meaning of her question must have a deeper meaning. She is the character I love the most. In other words, it was highly likely that my feelings were viewed as something like love. That would be quite a size too. In Dorothy's case, it's strange to see such feelings in someone you've never seen before. If so, what would be an appropriate answer? It would be better to say this. Wow. I could quickly think of an answer that Dorothy would like. I'm a fan of Dorothy Senpai. Me, he snorted and answered confidently. Really? Dorothy looked startled. She is a person with a lot of interest, who likes to stand out. It's a celebrity disease. So, I like to show a different side from others. This is the reason why he only uses starlight magic in front of people. So I liked it. Dorothy is a named character, but not an official heroine. Still, my favorite character in Magic Knight of Marchin was definitely her. When I was tired of studying for the exam, I felt like I was nothing special in this world, a daily life that was empty and depressing. I go to the reading room at dawn when the sky is not yet bright. As I left the reading room, the stars embroidered in the night sky welcomed me. It was because of such an ordinary, everyday life, Dorothy, who was a person who wanted to shine, and who tried to reveal herself wherever she was, touched me so much. You don't know how much power I've gained by thinking of you. That's right. Are you my fan? Dorothy pulled away from me, closed her eyes, coughed and nodded. Embarrassed look? That was an honest response. I knew it because I had seen it in the game. A fan like this is the best thing to disarm Dorothy. Even the person in charge even read my feelings. There will be no doubt about the answer that I am her fan. If my fans came out during my freshman year, wouldn't it mean that I already have a fan club? Then yes. Is there? No. Really? What is it? Can I have a fan meeting? The time has finally come for my autograph to shine. Dorothy expands her thinking at once and then drinks kimchi soup with an excited face. Still, it was cute, so I just watched it silently. It was as if my daughter-in-law, who had not yet graduated from kindergarten, revealed her aspirations. I will become a celebrity when I grow up. And it looked like she was already worried about the fan meeting. How could that not be cute? This one is for that little chicken owl. Of course, I haven't been married yet, so I don't know. But that's how it felt. Who is the president? It's me in the first year. The school year was divided. I do not know. Maybe there was such a thing as a fan club in the first place. It was just a word to save her life. Still, I don't know about other grades, but I'm definitely a fan of Dorothy's #1 among first graders. Mackin's magical night, there is Jambab. So, that autograph. I decided to get an autograph to match Dorothy's rhythm. I took out a piece of parchment from the class material I had brought for review and handed it to Dorothy. With a smirk, she took out a quill she had prepared beforehand and scribbled her autograph on the parchment. Got it back. It was just a bad pen. Nihi, nice to meet you. I'm glad you looked happy. 2. Look at what you are saying. Cute. Nyahaha. Dorothy smiles broadly. Just looking at it made me feel better. Oh, right. I wasted my time training our president. Oh, it's okay. That's right. You are my fan. So just looking at my face will fill you with energy, right? I wish I had that much strength, because it looks like I'm going to fall behind in training. It's a joke. I'll go see it now. Train hard. Ah, yes. Dorothy turned to the side and began to move. She waved to me and left, eventually. When her figure went through the trees and disappeared from view. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehui. My expression melted. Good view. It was really nice and pretty. Why was Dorothy not an official heroine? That was my biggest complaint in Magic Night of Marching. Had there been Dorothy Jungsil's route, I'd have spent 2/3 of my playing time on her route. Anyway, but focus again. It's a good caliber and Nabel. And let's focus on training as we saw it again. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwemtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now that I'm pretty strong, I'd better go to the training ground for a while and train to increase Ataptam elemental synergy at the same time. Chairman, Dorothy's lively voice hit her ear. As I turned my head to the side of the sound, I saw Dorothy sticking out her head from behind a tree. It was still a smiling face. What is your name? Name? It's Isaac. Yes, Isaac. See you tomorrow. Yes. Yes. Do you want to see tomorrow again? Just as she was about to ask why tomorrow, Dorothy waved her hand, loaded her feet with starlight mana, and left. In the place where she left, a bunch of colorful lights floated for a moment and then disappeared. Tomorrow. What? All of a sudden, it felt like the nuance of, you must see me tomorrow? Are you a fan? No, but a fan. I thought about it, trying to figure out Dorothy's intentions. It was a waste of time, so I decided to focus on training again. If it really comes to you tomorrow, it's a matter of asking tomorrow. That's interesting. I've never seen anything like that. The blue silver-haired man who had been training a while ago, he was hiding something gloomy that Dorothy Hartnova had never seen before. Her unique characteristic that can see through the essence of everything under the sky? Thousands of things. As soon as Dorothy saw a man named Isaac with that power, she looked into his essence. In his essence, there was a huge being capable of swallowing up everything in the world, unknown, to the extent that it can only be explained with those expressions. It is an existence whose identity cannot be guessed at all. It was something of an enormous size, and it looked very vicious. It could be said that it was a mass of near infinite magic that defies providence. Its countless eyes were glaring at Dorothy in unison. Dorothy felt a strong sense of intimidation in each of those eyes. It was almost as if he was insignificant, and let it speak to itself. It felt like a high-frequency wave, but Dorothy could instinctively grasp the meaning of the words. Do you want to die when you look at me with the naked eye? It must have meant something like, for a very short time. Though, I was afraid. The fact that he felt fear because of something hidden in the very essence of human beings was strange in itself. Even the gigantic was completely assimilated to Isaac. I mean, it's completely the man's. When it starts to get angry, Isaac will be able to use his immense powers. I don't know how strong it will be, but it's probably beyond imagination. In a word, Isaac is seemingly gentle, and he seems like a weak student who is simply sincere. Actually, is it a monster? A smirk spread across Dorothy's lips. Among the first-year students, I knew about geniuses such as Luz Eltania and Kaya Estrian because rumors were already circulating. From what I've seen in the past, they were definitely talented guys. In particular, the Luz Eltania side will be able to get back to normal soon. Even so, if Isaac used his original power, it was clear that even if all the first-year students, including them, attacked, it would be impossible to resist. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonging to Huihui. Moreover, if Isaac could borrow that power as he pleases, even Dorothy herself, who is called a genius among geniuses, would be able to easily surpass it. In conclusion, Isaac was not a good match. No matter how much Dorothy, perhaps, he was the strongest person in this academy. After all, the Marching Academy. That's good. There is a reason why it is called the most prestigious academy on the continent. With the power of thousands of things, I have been thinking that I have reached the point where I no longer know anything. There's nothing more to be interested in. But again, an unidentified new thing appears. It became fun. Dorothy smiled brightly and walked around the academy grounds with light steps, jumping like a rabbit. He decided to observe Isaac for the time being. In the middle of the night, the sky was filled with rain clouds. I can't even see the moonlight. Above the high ceiling of the Calais Pavilion, a demon dressed in black was sitting on the railing and looking at the surrounding landscape, gray-brown hair falling down neatly. His face had an impression of playfulness, and his physique was on the small side. Strictly speaking, he had the appearance of a human man, and his skin was dull gray. A black flame curtain, made of black flames, surrounded him. As soon as the raindrops hit the veil, it evaporated and disappeared. A demon who hummed a hum while waving his legs outstretched in front of the railing. He was scanning his surroundings with 2 pairs of eyes, both up and down. Earlier, after talking with Alice Carroll, the student body president of the Marchant Academy, I had come here to get some fresh air. Well, a unique sight caught the eyes of the demon. Far away, a man in a navy blue sweatshirt was running around the academy grounds, even with the ice curtain on his body. It would have made sense for the Knights department to run and run even in such inclement weather. But that sweatshirt was definitely from the magic department. The demon looked at the man. Thanks to his excellent eyesight, no matter how far away he was, he could easily recognize the man's appearance. Oh, he's in E-class. The demon said in a youthful voice, silver hair with a slightly bluish energy and red eyes like blood. Prayed at nobleman. Calm. Thanks to the student council president, the demons had memorized all of the academy student records and magic power measurement results, public information. I immediately recognized who the silver-haired man who was running around was. The lowest horsepower rating E-class. It was Isaac, a commoner and the weakest man in the academy. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's not like I'm the lowest in first year. Exercise for 100 or 1,000 days in this kind of weather. Does the amount of mana go up or not? A demon that giggles and giggles. Isaac looked pathetic. That's the bottom line of life. It would have been much better to go to the training ground and practice magic while running on a rainy day like this. Oh, I want to make fun of you when I see something weak. I want to bully you. The demons shook their upper body from side to side, immersed in trouble. Should I bully that jogging man or not? I quit after all. He's a first grader. Before the Dalian evaluation began, he shouldn't have messed up the schedule by doing something that stood out for nothing. The demons planned to kill all the students on the first day of Dalian in the Faculty of Magic. All students are locked up with 8-star magic, fictional hell, and a large-scale death game is played. Let's hold on until that day. It suppresses the desire to torment and kill humans, so that those feelings are ripe, so that you can feel even greater excitement when the planned day finally arrives. Come quickly. That day. Suddenly, one day, I remembered the mission I had received from the evil god Nefid. It was an instinctive feeling. Kill the Child of Light. Child of Light meant a man named Ian Fairytale at the Marchant Academy. The light attribute has the property of making the demons afraid, so it was quickly distinguishable. If possible, it would be better to deal with the demons and the disturbers all at once. Looking forward to it. I thought I could play with my own hands and slaughter all the children of the light. The saboteurs and many students, Asmodeans. Imaginary Lippa. His night was getting dark. A strange thing happened in a familiar landscape. I don't have to worry about it. Afternoon in the sun. Today's last class was a public lecture, so I went to the corner of the garden earlier than usual to practice magic. Then suddenly, Dorothy Hart Nova came out of the tree. She decided to sit leaning against the tree behind her and watch me train. However, the situation that someone was watching was very uncomfortable, so I couldn't concentrate on training. How can you not care? Did you notice that I was uncomfortable? At first, Dorothy began to read a book. She had no idea where she got it. Even after reading the book, the fact that it is there is one thing that makes me uncomfortable. Senpai. Will you still be here? Yeah, because I'm bored. Why are you here? Yeah, because I'm bored. Then I said I'd see you today? Yeah, because I'm bored. Dorothy gives a rough answer while reading a book. I was wondering if I would keep answering that question, so I asked, what are you going to have for dinner tonight? And the normal answer was chicken. Anyway, as a junior and a fan, I can't say anything. To let you know that I've been through a lot. Then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Hiwahue. Mind control. Let's ignore Dorothy. Even when they come into view, they see it as just an ordinary landscape. Then it'll be alright. Whoa! Taking a deep breath, he raised Frost Flame in both hands, and began to focus on training again. And after 40 minutes, the time when the sky has dyed with sunset, coffee spilled out. My whole body started to feel stiff, and there was something wrong with my magic output. In addition, even a small amount of magic wields a strong reaction within the body. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwimtil.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now it's every day. With a little more effort in this section, you can become stronger. It's like doing strength training and doing one more exercise when you feel like you can't do it anymore, and your muscles will grow. Today, it seems that the limit has come earlier than usual as I mainly use magic with high consumption. After wiping my nose, I got ready to cast the magic. It's okay. At that moment, Dorothy, who had come to my side, spoke to me. When I turned around in surprise, she was looking at me closely. Do not work too hard. Then the mana circuit breaks down. Dorothy smiled softly and began wiping under my nose with her handkerchief. It was a kind and gentle touch. For some reason, I was confused, so I just watched her quietly. Are you always this overbearing? Ah, yes. Probably so, right? Dorothy wiped off my nosebleeds and took the handkerchief back. Red blood smeared on the pink handkerchief. Then, suddenly, green mana started flowing down the chest. It was the mana flowing out of Dorothy's outstretched hands. Oh, what? Suddenly, power began to spring up. The body aches went away in an instant. Buff. I just wrote it so that I don't have to worry about my condition tomorrow. Hey, is this the worst? I feel refreshed after taking caffeine supplements while studying. I can do more intensive training. Can't you overdo it? Chairman, did you even read my mind? Thank you, senpai. Hey, training resume. Snap. Dorothy grinned and slapped me hard on the back, then headed back to the original tree. The taste is a little bit spicy, but it was a big help thanks to you anyway. If Dorothy is nearby every time I train, it's okay to lose the buff. I'm not going to say it out loud, but I thought it would be good to ask if I had a chance. A strange thing happened in a familiar landscape. Luz Altania was watching the blue silver-haired man who was training in the corner of the garden. She was sitting on a stone wall. It was quite a distance from the corner of the garden, and the trees obstructed the view. Still, there was no difficulty in watching the blue silver-haired man. This area is sparsely populated, so I didn't see anyone coming and going for a while. It was one of the best spectator seats. The blue silver-haired man seemed to have improved his magic proficiency than the last time I saw him. It was a remarkable growth rate. Every time I see him, I get a strange stimulus. It makes him want to work harder and harder, and that's why his hard work keeps getting noticed. He was the reason why I recently became interested in lightning magic. But at some point, a woman appeared from the other side. A woman with pale purple hair wearing a witch hat. Upon closer inspection with great eyesight, she was wearing a blue brooch on her school uniform ribbon. He was a senior in second grade. She chatted affectionately with the blue silver-haired man and sat leaning against the tree behind him. Then I started watching him train in the special seat. What is that person? I've never seen such a person before. A friend of a blue silver-haired man or lover? I don't know. But the female side seemed interested in the male side. I didn't know if that interest came from friendship, from liking, or from a completely different feeling. It was unusual to see him wiping his nose with a handkerchief. It didn't matter that a man had a lover. I only worried that it would be rude to look around. As I was watching it silently, the memories of my childhood suddenly flashed in front of Luz's eyes. Gretel, look at this. Yup. It's cool. Brother. Poor house. The image of my younger brother wielding a wooden stick like a sword. The image of himself as a child who sat leaning on a tree and admired it endlessly while looking at it. His old name that has already been thrown away with the past. This one is for that little chicken owl. Once again, I wandered through my memories and tightened my heart. Luz closed her eyes. 1, 2, 3. This one is for that little chicken owl. Only 3 seconds. It was the time it took her to put the memories she didn't want to recall deep in her heart and capture her emotion. I will announce the contents of the next performance evaluation the next morning. Class D classroom. Professor Fernando stood in front of the podium and began to deliver announcements to the students. All the students looked surprised. This is because this is the first time they have offered to inform them of the performance evaluation from the beginning. It was still released on the same day. The time has come. It must be done every semester. Dalian, it's a one-on-one duel. We will evaluate your fighting sense and practical skills. Dalian. As soon as they heard that, some students were happy and said, the time has finally come, while others were disgusted. To be honest, I was the happy one. This Dalian evaluation will be a good indicator to judge how strong I have become. I'm confident. I am currently able to use both offensive and defensive magic. You can even use 5-star magic, freeze explosion. Confidence soars. Compare now with the class placement assessment right now. How wealthy I am now. The ticket we just handed out is a Dalian application ticket. Each person gets 2 cards. 2 small tickets floated next to Professor Fernando. It was floated by flame-throwing magic. In my pocket, there were 2 application tickets for the competition that were distributed earlier. You can use 1 card to request a match against any opponent you want. If the opponent accepts, the match will proceed on the same day as the performance evaluation. If the opponent refuses, the consumed matchmaking right is returned to the person and it is over. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Not only that, however, if you apply for a match by using 2 matchmaking tickets, your opponent must accept it unconditionally. In order to get a particularly good score from the judges through a match, it is best to show a variety of fighting methods. Therefore, the Dalian performance evaluation was structured so that the more the number of matches, the more favorable it was to get good grades. The only way to apply for a duel until you have used up 2 matchup tickets is if you really want to face a specific opponent. The Academy created the Dalian compulsory rule to respect the will of such students. By the way, Ian Fairytale uses both of the application tickets to apply for a match with Luz Altania. That's why I want to fight the strongest person. In a good way, it is ambition or passion. And in a bad way, it is arrogance or bluff. Still, he's the main character, so it's beautifully directed. It was also a scene that made me feel full when I played Magic Knight of Marchen and said, Wow. If you're the main character, you must have this level of enthusiasm. One person can compete up to 4 times. If you have a good opponent, it would be better to apply for a match as soon as possible. This rule was created because the application for Dalian cannot be rushed. The application for Dalian is only for first-year students of the Faculty of Magic. Class is irrelevant. However, if a high-ranking student wins a battle with a low-ranking student, he or she will receive less points by the amount of magic power and the difference in grades. Conversely, if a lower-ranking student wins a battle with a higher-ranking student, he or she will get a lot of points because of these rules. Most of the cases in which the students in their class are competing, because I'm afraid to fight a student who is in a higher class than myself, and I don't score enough to put a fight on a student who is a lower class. So it was unusual for Ian to apply for a match with Luce. When the matchmaking opponent is decided, report it to me, sooner or later. This time period will be left open, to move only within the orphan tube. Whatever you do, it's fine. But I hope you'll focus on gathering opponents in Dalian. More than, the moment Professor Fernando finished delivering the announcement, bang! The door opened wildly, and the eyes of Professor Fernando and Class D students all turned toward the door. A voice full of confidence, "Under! Is this Class D? This is the air from the bottom." Suddenly, the door opened and appeared was a vain blonde noblewoman, Tristan Humphrey. Long time no see. I wanted to do something after the class placement evaluation. Tristan Humphrey, are you at the top? Why is such a person here? Tristan is a top B-class student. It seemed that the students were both interested and fearful at the same time. I was here. Tristan looked around the students and looked at me. The guy who walks towards me. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uiumtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No way. This noble body. Don't apply for a match against you. A trivial E-class commoner. Bang. The guy who puts his hand on my desk and shows a proud smile. To be grateful. This child. Were you craving... What? Did you apply for a match against an E-class? There is no advantage at all. How much do you hate it? When did you start hating Tristan? Huh. Are you sure you won't? How did the E-class defeat him? Professor Fernando's eyes filled with interest. Amidst the students' interest and gossip, Tristan is looking at me with a strong smile. He seemed very happy at the thought of beating me up already. What if I was so embarrassed when evaluating the class assignment? Still, the way he tries to bully him legally through his own curriculum should be said to be unique. Wait a minute. Wait. I think I got a little bubbly while catching demons and monster illusions for the fortress. Isn't this a big deal? Although Tristan is much weaker than the demons he has fought so far, he is much stronger than me. Tristan Humphrey, LV, 76, race, human, attribute, wind, risk, X, psychology. I'm glad I'm going to knock you down. When did you level up like this? I think it was someone last time. This one is for that little chicken owl. Of course, he wouldn't have stayed still after being attacked by me. If it was his nature, it would have been obvious that he would have worked hard. He must have learned defense magic as well. It's a big deal. This is the angle that is probably going to be ripped off. I will not accept rejection. Tristan smiled and took out 2 competition tickets and threw them at me. A thin sheet of paper brushes my cheeks and falls on my knees. He's a rogue and a nerd, and I must beat this bastard down. I will start the Dalian evaluation from now on. Finally, the day had come. A stadium dedicated to the first year of the Faculty of Magic. Duke Hall. The spacious interior of the building was divided into 4 quarters, and a stadium was installed in each space. The first-year students of the Faculty of Magic were divided into 4 groups, and each moved to a different arena. I was Group A. Among the many students, Lucena Ian, Mateo, and Tristan stood out. Kiana Amy would have gone to another group. A judge's seat was prepared next to the stadium, and middle-aged wizards were sitting side by side. They were all judges. The rules are simple. Victory by knocking out the opponent or accepting surrender. However, please note that surrender is impossible for 1 minute after the start of the match. Due to the nature of the performance evaluation, sudden behavior is prohibited. Keep in mind that you may be stopped by the proctors. Professor Fernando, along with his zombie assistant Marco and associate professor, was announcing the performance evaluation to the students on the arena. The only time you can run wild is during a match. The best medical staff and priests are on standby, so please focus on showing your full skills. More than after a brief explanation, Professor Fernando left the stadium. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uumtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Next, the associate professor called the students to be Dalian in the first order. The match began when Mateo Jordana and the first-time student went up to the stadium, and the referee shouted, "Dalian start." Mateo Jordana, LV, 80, race, human, attribute, rock, risk, X, psychology. I want to catch up with your skills. To let you know that I've been through a lot. Then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Mateo had achieved a lot of growth during his time. Have you been working hard with me as your target? I might be robbed soon. What about Tristan? Nah! When I let Tristan fall short, I promised myself that I would win. It was also an undeniable fact that he was falling behind him in terms of power. Besides, I don't even know how he polished himself. The part where Ian Fairytale and Tristan Humphrey have a conflict in the Magical Night of Marchen is the summoning of a samurai. At that time, Ian lightly knocked down the naive Tristan and released the cider. After that, Tristan also begins to learn defensive magic, but I already provoked him during the class placement evaluation. Even if he had mastered defense magic by now, there was nothing strange about it. Even though Tristan is a vain guy, he has no choice but to acknowledge his attack magic. If such a guy was good at attacking and defending, there would be no way for me to use it. So, you have to defeat him with just one win. Otherwise, you will inevitably lose. What? Professor Fernando whispered something to the assistant professor and then walked out into the hallway at a leisurely pace. It looked like his usual poker face was shaken. Well, it wouldn't be a big deal. It calmed the anxiety that had arisen for a moment. There will be no serious incidents that can be called a crisis situation in this Delium part. I ate something wrong. The toilet is urgent. Or something like that. Matteo Giordana. Win. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Matteo lightly subdued the opponent with his rock magic. After the competition, the judges gave feedback. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Most of Matteo's wit was praised and improved, but only one criticized it. I'm not comfortable. The proficiency of rock magic is very poor. A rock is an elemental attribute whose shape is determined at once. Rock-shaped carvings calculated for the future and sophisticated combat skills are essential. By the way, do you only know how to fight such violent battles? I didn't know why I was a B-class student. I'm also a commoner. So this one is for that little chicken owl. Oh, that one. I know who you are. A middle-aged man with bright red hair. A professor who is outright racist? It was Professor Philip in charge of Class A. Philip Meltrin. LV. Hunter weight. Race. Human. Attributes: fire, rock, risk, X, psychology. The commoners are offended by the victory over the nobles. Banana. He is notorious, but he is a well-known professor. Besides, he treated nobles well, so if he was in a noble position, he had no reason to hate him. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Matteo clenched his fist and trembled. Then calm down. Thanks for your feedback. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Matteo bowed his head and quietly accepted Professor Philip's feedback. Rather, his docile attitude seemed to arouse Professor Philip's anger. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Matteo is determined to proudly prove his worth with his skills, to the extent that Professor Philip provokes it. It will be as strong as a rock. Next, D-Class Isaac. B-Class Tristan Humphrey. Forward. It's my turn. Whoa! After taking one deep breath, I moved on. When it was my turn, the stadium seemed to be even bigger. My heart raced wildly because I was nervous. I slowly made my way up the stairs to the stadium. On the other side, a vain blonde nobleman, Tristan Humphrey, was approaching with a grin. We faced each other at a distance with the referee in between. It was then that the system window appeared in front of me. A nearby demon has been detected. Whoa. Whoa. Suddenly, I heard the sound of the wind in my head, and I felt as if the wick was being pulled upwards. He reflexively raised his head. High ceilings. A strong energy was felt from beyond. At the same time, the information of the demon, which was probably on the roof, appeared in front of my eyes. Illusion Lipa. Alva. 3. Race. Demon. Attributes. Dark. Fire. Risk. Best. Psychology. I want to kill all students, including you. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwumtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now it's the Magic Knight of Marchin Act 3. Chapter 1, Dalian Part. How did this happen? Magic Knight of Marchin, the final boss of Act 6. Chapter 3, Fictional Hell Part. Lifa of the Illusion. He's still a long way from coming out. Why am I already under the clear sky? The wind was blowing on the roof of the Duke Hall. A dwarf demon with gray-brown hair, imaginary Lipa, leaned against the railing and looked down at the floor. This one is for that little chicken owl. On the roof floor, there was a large magic circle emitting a soft purple light. Lipa's interest went beyond that. A unique skill that allows you to see through a nearby place, perspective. With the power of perspective, he was able to see to the inside of the building beyond the roof floor. The stadium is divided into 4 parts, while the students were fighting each other. No one stood out yet. Is the intruder still there? Lifa hung her tail as if bored. It sounded like a doggy. A saboteur who destroys demons? No one who could be considered him has yet been seen. If we found that guy, we were going to have a death game centered on that guy in Ian Fairy Tale. The game participants are all first-year students in the Faculty of Magic in the Duke Hall. Silly judges are a bonus. Now, soon. Locking it all in my magic and making Ian Fairy Tale and the Interferer protect people. It must be fun. Lipa giggled. The anticipation grew even higher, making him excited. That was then. Kick. The roof door opened, and a man with a cool look appeared. Silver hair and blue eyes. Professor Fernando Frost. Lipa's eyes turned to Fernando. Are you a demon? Fernando narrowed his eyes and looked at Lifa cynically. Lipa smiled with a tear in her mouth. Cause I didn't expect the professor to appear here. What's going on? Professor. You were currently evaluating the first year of the Faculty of Magic, right? It was strictly forbidden to enter the Duke Hall. I forgot. I forgot. I'm sorry. Lipa responds like a small child. There is no sign of apologizing. Say. What surprised Fernando was that Lipa spoke very much like a normal human being. As demons are inherently low intelligence beings, they are known as beings who cannot have normal conversations. But what happened? Wasn't it only netted inside the building? You must have hit the outside of the building this time. It was too much. Where did you pick up that? Usually, Fernando puts a net using telekinetic power throughout the building when tests or performance evaluations are conducted inside the building. It's kind of a barrier. Therefore, when an abnormality occurs, Fernando can immediately recognize it. But only the major groups within the Bachelor know that. Faculty members, 4 constellations, and the student council. Do you have an insider? Cluckle? Lipa only laughed with a peculiar laugh, but did not answer. It seems there is no need to answer. The meaning was clear. You're going to die here anyway. What do you mean? Fernando held out his right index finger toward Lipa. Water mana and ice mana flowed out in front of the finger, compressed into a small round shape and formed into a bullet. Water generation, water attribute. 1 plus ice generation, ice attribute. 1 plus compression neutral attribute. 4. Elemental magic bullet water plus ice. Aigu, calm down. Calm down. Let's talk peacefully. Well, it sounds like that. The magic circle engraved on the floor of the roof was in the form of messy strokes intertwined here and there. All the magic circles were memorized. For that reason, Fernando felt deeply that this ominous and mysterious circle of magic was extremely dangerous. The magic was not detected. Is it because it hasn't been activated yet? In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwumtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No. In general, just before the magic circle is activated, you should feel a certain amount of magic. Ha! I didn't want to be disturbed. Still, you could be an appetizer. Along with the chirping voices of the demons, the purple light emitted by the magic circle became more intense. Then, dark and strange mana spread out in an instant and swallowed up Lipa and Fernando at once. Enjoy it. Fernando Frost. A purple circular space created on the roof. Fictional hell. The natural mana floating in the air is sucked in, creating a new world cut off from the truth and providence of this world. Fernando was forced into the world. Magic Knight of Marchen, the final boss of Act 6. Chapter 3. Fictional Hell Part. Lifa of the Illusion. The level was lower than what I knew, but looking at the property, it was clear that he couldn't have come out already. Act 6. Chapter 3 is the second semester part of the first year. Fighting Lipa means that even if it's far away, it's a long way off. During the 4 constellations part of Magic Knight of Marchen, the second semester of the first year, Lifa of the Illusion transforms into a human and becomes a friend of Ian Fairytale and the others. This is because he used hallucinations and perception-type magic to change people's perceptions and infiltrated under the guise of a student. Players who didn't get spoilers would have seen Lipa at first and thought Shin came, and moved on. I was like that at first too. However, as we enter Act 6, Chapter 3, the fact that the fictional Lipa is a demon is revealed, and the battle to subdue Lipa begins. At that time, his level was 150. I remember the difficulty level was terrible. The story has never been so twisted as this. It means that something I didn't know triggered the appearance of an imaginary Lifa. The imaginary Lipa was a demon who lived and manifested in this world from the beginning. It can be said that he is one of the demons who have adapted to life in the world with their own intelligence. So, even though the mission to kill Ian Fairytale, the light attribute, came to him, he was able to demonstrate prudence. I shook my head quickly. Why did he show up early? What is that? I have no way. I was able to guess quickly by turning my head a little. He has a close relationship with Alice Carroll, the student council president of the Marchen Academy and the Black Screen. The depth of an alliance is shallow, and they can betray each other at any time, so it would be appropriate to define it as a friendship. In the original story, it was self-evident that the man who dealt with demons was Ian Fairytale. So, Alice, or the fictional Lipa, just had to watch Ian's steps. No matter how much Ian was from the Fairytale family, he could just throw it into a trap at the right time and get rid of it. However, at this time, it is not known who the dedicated demon handler is. Alice must have been anxious to find me. Seeing her reaction like that, it was highly probable that the imaginary Lipa was also interested in an unknown entity. That's why I couldn't overcome my curiosity and went out now. Since the saboteur first appeared during the placement evaluation for the Faculty of Magic, he must have judged that it was highly likely that he was a student of the Faculty of Magic. This Dalian evaluation allows us to gauge the strength of the first-year students of the Faculty of Magic. It could be seen as a golden opportunity to find out the intruders. But this is too fast. Man. We've just entered Act 3, Chapter 1. But what if the final boss of Act 6? Chapter 3 comes out, but now, Lipa's level is only 130. Fighting one-on-one would be no problem. But Lipa's specialty is not just fighting. It is not for nothing that the subjugation of Lipa is taking place. The stage for the fight with him is Fictional Hell, an 8-star rating that will destroy the country. Magic that creates a world with a new providence that goes beyond the concept of hallucinations. Although it is a hallucination series, it is a unique magic that no one can imitate. It doesn't emit mana, but rather sucks the mana around it into its own world, so it can't even absorb mana. Just like a black hole absorbs light. The absolute within him, the Katsut within is Lifa. That magical world is the realm of a complete bastard. Even a level 180 tycoon like Dorothy Hart Nova cannot defeat Lifa, who activated fictional hell, if they do not know the strategy method. What if he becomes a divine being? By the way, to die in that world means the spirit. It means to become a plant man. The ordinary strategy is not to fall into fictional hell. Oh, what about it? He has a personality that likes to play with humans. Perhaps, if the interfering person is found, the Duke Hall itself will be locked in a fictional hell and a game of death will be played. Ian will struggle to protect the people. So, what should I do from now on? Under, are you praying to heaven? Sorry, you can't see the sky from here. Tristan, who was babbling and coughing in vain, I lowered my head and looked at him. He was not in a position to be comfortable in battling here. Right now, this situation is not a comfortable situation, but a crisis situation. In any case, we need to get to the roof quickly. But I couldn't do anything about giving up and running to the roof. As Professor Fernando said earlier, anyone showing a suspicious look is to be suppressed by the waiting test supervisors, as the Dalian evaluation encourages students to fight each other. There are cases in which adrenaline rushes between students and causes unhappiness. Therefore, those who act unexpectedly should be punished and questioned about why they did not follow the rules. If that happens, we cannot guarantee how long it will take. It is said that the body becomes free only after the match is over and the feedback is heard. In addition, it is impossible to surrender for 1 minute after the start of the match. You cannot immediately surrender and leave. Even if I decide to surrender for that 1 minute, Tristan's magic will wreck me, because it looks like you are determined to defeat me as if you are going to kill me. And if I get beaten by Tristan, I won't be able to go to destroy the imaginary Lifa. What if I have a will to face Lipa right now? The Destroyer attribute activates, so it will become stronger. Unless you plan to openly get caught by Alice Carroll, it's better to refrain from such ignorance in front of students. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwmtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No matter how secretive a performance evaluation or test is, it is impossible to stop word of mouth from the students. Then the remaining options are... It was the best option. I made my decision and looked straight at Tristan. The means are unlimited. No surrender for 1 minute. Then, be courteous to your opponent and engage in battles. Ready. Start the match after the referee gives the instructions. He screams and falls back. The battle with Tristan has begun. Waited for this time. This is the time when I can fertilize your ugly face with my magic without mercy. Ignore whatever he says. Let's focus. Not a single mistake is tolerated. Level, magic power. All because he's far superior to me. If I start giving and receiving some, I will unconditionally become a dog cake. Let's postpone measuring my current skill with pure magic to the next match. For now, let's just focus on getting through this situation carefully and quickly. I wrapped ice mana around my fingers and spit it out towards Tristan. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Hiwahue. Memories of the placement evaluation have painfully gripped Tristan. A commoner with only E-class magic power and no special corner, he fell victim to his poor tactics, and for some reason was even beaten by Kaya Astrine. Tristan sharpened it. It's always been a life I've lived up to, because he is special, even in this prestigious marching academy. He was ranked at the top, because he is a capable human being. So, it didn't make sense for me to lose to an E-class commoner like that. If something goes wrong, it's definitely wrong. This was the opportunity to correct the mistake and write it down to Isaac. An E-class commoner like you can't even reach my toes. It was said that he was just a little careless during the class assignment evaluation. Duke. Ice wall, ice attribute. 4. A wall of ice rising from the ground in an instant. Lock up Tristan on all sides. Is it blinding? Tristan blew out mana in a sharp form, engraving a light green sword in the air. Wind sword wind attribute. 3. Every bite. The high-density wind gently cut through the ice wall as if cutting a cake. In the blink of an eye, the ice wall that had formed several hatches collapsed helplessly. Seeing how 3-star magic cuts away 4-star, even defensive magic, at once, the students responded, as expected, and it was natural. Elemental firepower, meaning the power of magic, because it is a clear fact that Tristan, a high-ranking honor student, far exceeds the level of Isaac, the lowest-ranking inferior student. Oh! As if he had already known that his magic would be shattered horribly. Isaac threw his next move as the ice wall collapsed. Processing fog. A hazy mist from the magic tool enveloped the stadium. Frost release ice attribute. Mets. The fog grew thicker. This was because the cold air that Isaac blew out cooled the processing mist and turned it into an advection mist. Fluffy snow ice attribute. Tutsu. In the fog. The magic that Isaac had learned to evaluate the match, Crazy Eyes mercilessly beat the arena and dispersed the sound. It was a magic that made a lot of small icicles in the air and dropped them on the floor like hailstones. The purpose was clear. This is to prevent them from figuring out where they are by sound. Again, do you think you can only play pranks? Yep, that's just about it. What is an E-Class Commoner? Tristan put a smirk on her lips as if it was plastic. Now that E-Class Commoner is cute, since the class placement evaluation, Tristan has been working hard on her magic training. It is now possible to use defensive magic at a high level. It's like hiding like a coward. Is the purpose of the head again? You look shallow. Do you think you'll get hit twice by a tactic that's been hit once? It's pathetic. Tristan stretched out her right arm and used wind magic. A light green magic circle appeared over his right hand, and the wind mana began to swirl violently. The newly constructed tornado shield absorbed the thick fog. Wind wall wind attribute. 4. Whoa, 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 whoa. Tristan Humphrey are getting stronger every minute. The mist was lifted, and the fluffy snow was absorbed into the whirlwind. In a short time, the fog cleared and the stadium revealed itself. The figure of Isaac, who was running to Tristan, was also revealed. As he ran, he put his fingers together and created a gap between his hands to collect ice mana. What kind of motor nerves? Almost in front. Much faster than expected. Tristan tried to retreat quickly, but her feet did not move. For a brief moment, I glanced down to see that the soles of my shoes were frozen. It wasn't just the shoes. The entire stadium was icy. Ice generation ice attribute. 1. In what gap? The fabric fog caused by Isaac is the property of water, even if his elemental firepower was insignificant. Elemental synergy, which enhances the combination effect between elements, could not be ignored. So he was able to freeze the arena thick enough to bind Tristan's feet. Suddenly, ice mana gently condensed in Isaac's hand. A light blue magic circle is created and follows his hand. Isaac held the chunk of mana in his right hand and stretched it toward Tristan. Do you think it will be easy for you? I don't know what that magic is, but Tristan herself wasn't generous enough to be treated quietly. Today is the day Isaac is beaten to dust. It will be the day when you will be freed from your guilt. Tristan lifted the tornado shield, wind wall, and at once swung his left arm wrapped around wind mana. At the same time, the light blue mana that Isaac was holding exploded towards Tristan. Ice explosion, ice attribute. 5. Turning wind attribute. 4. Shut up. Tristan screams. An explosive flood of freezing came over him. The ice mass formed in an instant due to the turtle wind broke, and large pieces of ice were scattered in the air. However, the impact of the explosion had to be fully received. There was strong wind pressure. As a result, Isaac's body bounced back like a ball. Isaac rolls on the floor once and gets up without much trouble. Whoa. There was no damage from the magic because it did not directly touch Tristan's magic because of the wind pressure generated by the clash of freeze explosion and turtle wind. I only briefly heard the pain as if I had been hit in the stomach with a huge fist. How? What? Did I read that student information wrong? Embarrassment lingered in the judge's eyes. The students in the D class, which had been assigned an E-class magical power, used 5-star magic that most first-year students have not yet used. The judges began examining Isaac's information, reading the papers on the desk once more to see if he was really E-class and if he had misremembered. The students who were watching Dalian were also surprised. They started talking with a look of disbelief. What just happened? It was 5-star magic. Just Isak's 5-star magic. It's magic power E-class. The atmosphere that started to become lively around Isaac. For Tristan, it was a very disappointing situation. His school uniform was in rags as if he had been stabbed by numerous thorns, and there were frostbite and bruises all over his body. At least, it seemed that the impact of freeze explosion was alleviated with turning wind and basic protection magic. Ouch! He groaned and staggered in pain, then straightened himself up again and looked at Isaac with scorching eyes. At the same time, he activates the wind sword, smashing the ice that bound his feet to the ground. I trampled on the wreckage of the ice ingots that had been shattered into pieces because of the collision with the turtle wind. His anger was fully expressed with that one step, as a calming chill flowed through him. He began to create a strong wind. Wind generation wind attribute. 1. As if to represent Tristan's wrath, the light green wind that begins to wind around the stadium. Then, a whirlwind began to form in both of his outstretched hands. E-class commoners, another wound on this body. Are you vigilant again? Tristan. At that time, Tristan withdrew her vigilance and took only an offensive stance. Isaac gently clenched his fist with his left hand that had been hidden behind his waist. The flow of mana was cut off from the left hand, where ice mana was flowing. Ice generation ice attribute. 1. Suddenly, a large chunk of ice that had formed above Tristan's head fell. Whoops! Ouch! The block of ice hit Tristan's head straight. Amidst the screams of some startled girls, Tristan staggered and knelt on the floor. With a block of ice falling to the floor, blood was dripping from his head. His face was halved with the color of skin and red blood. Tristan gets up, grinding her teeth to the point of making a cracking sound. His anger erupted like a piercing sky. The damage suffered this time was different from the class assignment evaluation. Thanks to the basic protection magic applied to his body, he was able to get up even if the head was hit directly by a falling block of ice. For a brief moment, I almost passed out. He managed to get up, shaking, trembling, and again stretched his right arm over his head. A light green magic circle that started to be implemented in double and triple. Tristan often referred to his strength as strong, large, 1 mana. A strong wind blew menacingly, as he usually said. Powerful mana was swirling around. who would not be able to pick a bone if anyone had been hit. There was no victory for Isaac anymore. You will have to accept the wrath of the vain blonde nobleman who has become Blood 7. Is it over now? Come on. It's my turn. I'm sure I'll kill you here. It is said that anger is the catalyst for awakening. Tristan uses her anger as nourishment to radiate heavy mana that seems to be crushed by anyone. The students watched the scene and swallowed dry saliva over and over again, because he seemed to be overwhelmed by that mana, even though he was simply watching. There was no more victory for Isaac. From now on, Tristan's magic will cut Isaac in pieces without mercy. Yes, surrender. If the fight continues, Isaac said sarcastically, raising his arms upwards. It was exactly 1 minute after the start of the match. This was confirmed by looking at the wall clock above the judges' heads. It's like you've been told you should never hear it. Tristan's expression turned to surprise. Hado was so embarrassed that his concentration was broken. His wind magic was released, and the magic circle disappeared. Student Isaac, are you aware that if you surrender, you will lose even the chance to get feedback from us? Yes, Judge. Your opponent is too strong. I will surrender, despite my fears. No. Do not say that. The fight starts now. Don't make a happy face as if you lost but fought well. I lost. It was a good fight. Isaac patted Tristan on the shoulder with a "I admit you" expression on his face and left the place. It was the moment when Tristan's time stopped, in the awkward air. I sprinted out into the hallway. The students started talking about me. I don't know English. I understand running away. I should have been like that from the beginning. I'm a coward, etc. Luce, who was not interested in other people, was also staring at me. Was it that noticeable? Me, of course. From her point of view, I'd be nothing more than an extra 1. No, an extra 4. You'll get it right away anyway. To let you know that I've been through a lot. Then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Mateo nodded his head and gave a persuasive expression. It must have been something like Isaac matched Tristan's level appropriately. So I didn't want to read the psychology. It's not the time to worry about anything else. As soon as I got to a location out of the reach of people, I started running. Hurry. Bye. It takes quite a while to get to the roof. Fortunately, he is physically fit. I can reach the roof by running at full speed without stopping. Predictably, it was highly probable that the hypothetical Lipa was intent on imprisoning the entire Duke Pavilion in fictional hell. He probably carved a magic circle on the roof, so we need to get rid of his magic before it hits the students. I jumped up the stairs 3 steps at a time. However, it did not consume much stamina. Hell's PT achievements come from here. As he climbed the stairs, he took out his magic camouflage from his magic pocket and put it on. All you have to do is put on a navy blue hooded coat, a mask around your mouth, and a hood over your head. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Preet at Noble Mill. Calm. Magic camouflage doubles Berserker from now on. My appearance will be seen as a monster. Fortunately, we reached the front door of the rooftop earlier than expected. Wide open entrance door. The first thing he saw were large gray eyes floating in the air. Second eye. It was a skill used by the imaginary Lifa. His eyes were looking down the roof. As Lipa's eyes, he seemed to be watching the stadium inside the building with perspective magic. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uwimtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. No response even when I went up to the roof, presumably. The hallway and the stairs leading to the roof were out of sight. If it wasn't for you, you would have noticed what I posted. I'm glad. And beyond the eyeballs, a strange, dark curtain spread out in the form of a hemisphere came into my sight. It was a small fictional hell that covered part of the roof. Why is that activated? At that size, it must have been written for a small group of 1 or 2 people. Someone has come to disturb Lifa. No way. Professor Fernando went somewhere during the Dalian evaluation. He didn't come back the whole time I finished the match. When conducting tests or performance evaluations inside the building, he sets up a net using telekinesis magic. It's like radar. If an uninvited guest is caught there, Professor Fernando is immediately aware of it. Apparently, it was Professor Fernando who was fighting Lipa in that little fictional hell. Crazy. The victim must not appear. There was also the problem of having an affair, and I didn't like the fact that there were innocent victims. In particular, Professor Fernando is a very important supporting actor in Magic Knight of Martian. It's the role of keeping Alice Carroll in check. I plan to play a big role in awakening Ian, who will fall into a slump later. Had to be saved. Is it a time attack? Lipa is playing with Professor Fernando, and when the mana contained in the magic circle is ripe, it will increase the size of fictional hell at once. I'll have to knock it down before then. I plunged into fictional hell. The sea is like a mirror. The shallow waters reflected the ultramarine blue sky. It was as if the sky had been turned upside down. The sky was full of stars, and the Milky Way was flowing. All 4 directions are horizontal. If there's anything else, it's about the old buildings lying around. It was so shabby that it looked like it would break if touched. Ouch! The beautiful scenery was splattered with blood. Coo! Fernando's body flew through the air like a ball and crashed into the building. He was swept down to the floor with a shriek, and the shallow depths of the sea wet his lower body. Hey, shut up. He spewed blood from his mouth, but his blue eyes were still burning with determination. He looked up and saw a group of monsters staring at him. Heterogeneous being, The Milky Way ran through their black skin. It looked as if it were one with the night sky, so Fernando named it like a night sky monster. The night sky monsters had different shapes, from the forms of humans, animals, and beasts to the form of an overwhelmingly large octopus flying in space. The octopus was unrealistically huge, and the rest of the size cannot be estimated. What stood out more than anything else was the full moon that seemed close. It must have been far away, but the size of the moon was so grand that it could not be compared with the moon he had seen normally. It was a very beautiful scenery. So, even the ridiculous idea that it would be okay to use it as a grave comes up. What is a grave? Fernando groaned and stood up. His legs were weak and he was shaking, but he managed to stand up by pointing at the wall of the building. He remembered what he had said to the associate professor. If you don't come back for more than 20 minutes, stop the Dalian evaluation immediately. Evacuate the students, and gather all your power and head to the roof. Currently, demons are enjoying playing with themselves. So, I had to spend a little more time here. The charter is unfavorable. It seems that you have killed quite a few monsters, but the number is increased compared to before. The monsters seem to be replicating infinitely. Pointless consumption. A structure that you can't help but lose. At that time, the full moon with its back against the night sky had a mouth. It was a mouth so large that it took up half of its body. The teeth are too even, and the teeth are too white. Thousands of eyes open above it. It had already become a living being, not the moon. Fernando's eyes widened, a sight so eerie that it makes your senses numb. I was speechless at the overwhelming sight. Tens of thousands of ugly eyes of the full moon turned to Fernando at once. The guy started laughing. The sound of bizarre laughter, as if the sounds of all things were combined, resounded across the sky. Even the night sky monsters have mouths large enough to fill half of their heads. They also burst into laughter as loud as the moon. It was as if the whole world was begging you to despair. Breathe. Suddenly, the muscular night sky monster that reached Fernando flew a fist-sized for his size. Fernando hurriedly deployed basic protection magic to alleviate the shock. Basic protection magic neutral attribute. 1. The monster's fist hit Fernando's temple. Prayed at noble metal. Calm. Woo 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 woo. A popping sound rings out, and the brain shakes. Fernando's body flew back lightly, bounced off the surface of the sea like a swallow, and had to wallow in the shallow waters for a while. It made a noise and managed to stop. There was no more strength in my body. Fernando looked up blankly at the sky. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. But let's put the review aside for later. He raised his upper body with all his might. He was still surrounded by monsters that were aiming for him. The muscles didn't listen. I couldn't stand up on my 2 legs. This one is for that little chicken owl. Okay, I can still fight though. Fernando stretched out his right arm towards the monsters. In front of his 5 fingers, elemental magic bullet, compressed by telekinetic magic, was created. Water generation, water attribute. 1 plus ice generation, ice attribute. 1 plus compression neutral attribute. 4, elemental magic bullet, water ice attribute. Tang, 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 tang. Elemental bullet. Fernando fires 5 rounds. However, none of the magic bullets hit the enemy. My hands were shaking, and I didn't even have the strength to hit the enemy. Almost all of his magical power was exhausted to use the high-powered telekinesis magic. To make matters worse, the number of monsters was growing again. A giant octopus was still contemplating itself in space. The full moon was still giggling. The fact that I couldn't win was a terrible feeling. He will definitely die here. Even so, he couldn't back down. I am a professor. To shake off this despair, I reminded myself of who I am. Although his voice did not come out properly, he spoke with all his might. So the students, became a professor. Aside from his intention to study, because he had a pure desire to teach prospective wizards, for some reason, I remembered teaching magic to a young guy who dreamed of becoming a wizard. He only taught me the trivial part of the theory of fire magic, but he blinked at how well he taught him. I didn't express it, but whenever I remember that time, a smile comes out of my mouth. Finally, using all of his remaining magical power, he fired 5 elemental magic bullets once more. It was a dangerous magic bullet, as if the elements were going to be scattered at any moment due to lack of magic power. It may be a meaningless rant. Still, I just needed to be able to prolong the time even a little, even for just 1 second. You have to keep... Fernando's small but firm voice was buried in the laughter of monsters. You have a funny face. Fernando. It was fun. Bye. Men. A creepy-looking full moon bids farewell in a mischievous voice. The night sky monsters all at once begin to imitate Fernando's technique. Generate darkness, dark attribute. 1 plus generate fire, fire attribute. 1 plus compression, neutral attribute. Elemental magic bullet dark plus fire attribute. Elemental magic bullets, made of dark red flames, appeared in front of the fingers, mouths, and foreheads of each monster. The sizes were different. There were monsters that made small bullets like Fernando, or made large bullets to fit their body. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uumtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Numerous elemental magic bullets came after him from all directions. I'm going to die this time. Tang 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 tang. The night sky monsters all started firing elemental magic bullets at once. The sound of machine guns firing bullets filled the air as each shot came together. Elemental magic bullets, scurrying across the air towards Fernando. This one is for that little chicken owl. On the other hand, the elemental magic bullet that he fired was futile. Before they even reached the enemy, they were scattered in the air. Fernando closed his eyes as he finally saw the night sky monsters and the dark red flames flying towards him. It was then. Ice Wall Ice Attribute. 4. Woo. Frostfire Ice Attribute. 4. A magnificent ice wall is formed in front of Fernando's nose. A tsunami of cold. Cold flames swept over the sea. His two eyes widened. The elemental magic bullet fired by the night sky monsters did not even scratch the ice wall despite their superiority. The solidly rising ice wall disappeared as a powder scattering blue light as soon as it did its job. A wide ice sheet began to appear in Fernando's field of vision. The whole bodies of the many night sky monsters were hung from deadly frostbite, and purple blood was pouring out from scorched or torn skin cracks everywhere. Coo! A man fell from the sky and landed on thick ice. There is a crack in the ice sheet, a man with a hazy chill flowing through his body. With his appearance, a large amount of ice that froze in the sea scatters into blue powder. In the twinkling sight, the monsters in the night sky fell helplessly. Fernando took a look at the man's back. His broad back was particularly conspicuous, and he had a ragged, muscular body. The height seemed to be well over 2 meters. He was wearing a navy blue hooded coat, with a hood over his head. Gru! The cry of the beast was heard from the giant. It wasn't a human sound. It was like a sound a beast makes when it warns of its enemies. Fernando didn't say anything. It felt as if my brain had stopped. I knew what that monster was. There must have been a handshake that appeared during the class assignment evaluation. But why did the monster appear here? Why did you protect yourself? Before even finding the answer to that question, the monster roared fiercely towards the full moon. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. Meanwhile, outside of a fictional hell, Dorothy Hartnova, a girl wearing a witch's hat, was skipping class and admiring the blue sky and the horizon of the sea. Today, the similar emeraldly symmetrical landscape was so amazing that I couldn't learn it without looking at it. Dorothy was comfortably floating in the sky in a sitting position, gently streaming the colorful starlight. Starlight magic was able to deal with natural forces such as gravity. Is that... Then, as she looked down at the academy, she noticed something strange. A strange magical space was formed on the roof of the Duke Hall. It wasn't emitting magic, so I hadn't noticed it yet. Rather, it is an unidentified magic that absorbs mana floating in the air. It was as if that magic was cut off from this world. Another world. It still appears to be in the pilot phase, but it appears that it will expand rapidly and cover the Duke Tube in no time. Dorothy assumed that something unusual had happened and flew towards the magic. At the end of the day, I was almost shocked. This one is for that little chicken owl. Of course, I knew there would be that full moon to let you know that I've been through a lot. Then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. My heart almost stopped because reality was alive. This one is for that little chicken owl. One deep breath cleared my mind. I'm weak at this. Besides, I heard berserkers cry without realizing it. It didn't match my voice at all. It felt like I was just feeling my emotions and spitting out sounds like an AI. Anyway, even if it was a little late, it would have been an irreversible situation. Look at that Professor Fernando. It's just one step away from being behind. He looks like he's about to pass out, but he's doing everything he can to keep him conscious. Sadly, it would be better to reassure him quickly and make him faint in peace. Who are you? The moon's voice rang softly. It also looked bad. Look at that neat cornbread. I like a light uppercut. This is fictional hell. That disgusting looking full moon is Illusion Lipa. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue, master of this world. This world is completely his realm. I can't tell what I'm saying anyway. Gru. In case you have any questions, you can refer to uumtl.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Now I am unable to communicate. It is a zero-language berserker. In this state, verbal conversations will be difficult, and conversations with fists will only be possible. It's you. Sorry. It was then that Lifa, who was in the form of the moon, seemed to realize that I was a demon handler. Kryung. Soon, monsters began to rise from the sea. Tens of thousands of monsters, each with various shapes, appear innumerable. Woo 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 woo! Earthquake is happening. Beyond the horizon, a gigantic arm stretches out from the ground. Preed at noble metal. Come. Woo! A huge monster that climbs up the sea. He was a giant with a skull mask on his face, wrapped around the night sky with the Milky Way. Seeing it clearly, even from such a distance, it seemed to be an enormous size beyond imagination. It's much smaller than the octopus in the sky. Disruptor. Are you a troublemaker dealing with demons? Meh. Sure. And you will be dealt with soon. This fictional hell will soon grow in size and cover the Duke's coffin. Only by defeating him before that will we be able to prevent any victims other than Professor Fernando. Ah! I wanted to meet you. I was wondering who the hell he was. I'm so happy now. Meh. Is that so? Crew. An intruder. A hindrance. Let me play with you. As the full moon laughed and shouted like a child, the monsters began to rush towards me with grotesque laughter from their large mouths. Man. Fictional creature. Elva. 80. Race. Demon. Attributes. Dark. Fire. Risk. High. Psychology. I want to bite you. Man. If you get hit by those monsters, your mind will die and you will become a vegetative person. The strength of each individual cannot be ignored, since such guys are created infinitely, no matter how much I fight. In the end, it will only be a long-term battle in which I have no choice but to lose. I don't know if it's good to give experience points, but to prevent expediency in the game. They don't even give experience points. Marchin's Magical Night, Act 6. Chapter 3. Fictional Hell, Part Subjugation of the Fictional Lipa. The player must protect the students by destroying the fictional creatures. That's because Lipa locks the students in and plays a defense game against Ian and his teammates. If even one student dies, it's game over. So I remember retrying with swear words. And if you hold out for a certain amount of time, a story cutscene comes out. This is the scene where Ian Fairytale learns the strategy of this world. The main character, Ian Fairytale, struggles with the supporting actors, but perseveres with the determination to somehow protect the student. Swinging his sword, he repeated, "I can do it." He began self-hypnosis by saying, "I'm strong and I can create stronger power." However, it is really surprising that the strong power comes out. That's how the full-fledged Lipa subjugation battle begins. Yes, fictional hell strategy is self-braining. You have to be like a hypocrite patient. It is to fight against an illusion in the world of illusion. If you don't know the strategy, even level 180 Dorothy Hartnova will have to struggle in the end. However, if you learn the strategy, you can defeat an ordinary Isaac of level 51, even Nara in an inactive state. The key is that I should be able to imagine a stronger image. The more I know what will happen when I get stronger, the greater the effect. If you don't know how to properly imagine your stronger image, it's useless even if you learn the strategy. As a character in Magical Night of Marchin, I clearly understood what it was like to become the top of the ice attribute. In other words, I was one of Lifa's natural enemies. Everything in this world rushes at me. First, put on Professor Fernando Freeze Shield. Ice Shield Ice Attribute. 6. Let's imagine looking like I'm a munchkin. For a brief moment, I took my mind off this world. A talent acquired while studying, while confined to a desk during high school life, cut me off from the world. I color myself, my life itself, with emptiness. The world becomes quiet. I redefine myself in it. I am strong. I am strong. I am the best in this world. Strong. Unique trait Destroyer is activated. Levels and stats temporarily increase significantly. The skill tree temporarily becomes plus 10. Unique trait Destroyer is activated. Levels and stats temporarily increase significantly. The skill tree temporarily becomes plus 10. Unique trait Destroyer is activated. Levels and stats temporarily increase significantly. This is already the maximum. The skill tree temporarily becomes plus 10. This is already the maximum. Situation. In case you have any questions, you can refer to omtl.com for references. I dedicate this to SilkyGo. Name, Isaac. LV, 200. Gender, male. Grade, 1. Title, freshman. Horsepower, 99929 of 99. Magical recovery speed EX. Stamina X. Strength X. Intellect C. Spirit EX. The combat ability. Elemental Class 1. Ice. Elemental Firepower X. Elemental Efficiency X. Elemental Synergy E. Elemental Series 2 locked. You have attained the status of a king by realizing all of the elemental ice properties. Bam. Passive skill Ice Ice has been acquired. Ice Ice. 9. The senses of each cell are unfamiliar. He gently bowed his head and took a very short time to get used to the unfamiliar sensations. It seemed that the color of the skin increased and the body became brighter. The hair on the inside of the hood felt like it was standing crooked, and the nerves were sharp. Light blue cold air gently flows from my body, and I feel like I can use magic with the highest output ever at any time. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huihue. My body, everything about me, became very dense and heavy and light at the same time. Passive skill. Ice Ice. The effect is simple and clear. It is to maximize the output of the ice attribute magic that I will use from now on. Ha! I caught the world rushing towards me. Light blue cold air flows out of the breath. Ruler. From now on, I am a Super Saiyan. Dorothy went into fictional hell. Entering that magical space was easy, as if crossing another dimension. Swimming in the darkness like a black hole, a beautiful landscape spread out in her sight. The open sea that reflects the night sky like a mirror. Abandoned buildings lying around from time to time. A night sky full of the Milky Way and stars. A gigantic octopus is watching us from beyond space, with planetary rings crossing the sky. A full moon with a mouth large enough to cover half of its body. And an army of monsters rushing towards Professor Fernando and the giant in a navy blue hooded coat. Dorothy stopped in the sky and watched the scene. When the unique characteristic Thousands of Things was activated, Dorothy confirmed the unknown existence hidden in the essence of the giant, an almost infinite mass of magic. An overwhelming majesty that could swallow everything in the world. I will never forget where I saw that existence. Isaac. It was Isaac, a blue-haired first-year boy, but apparently it wasn't him. The large man was a muscular monster covered in a hood. Magic camouflage. Dorothy knew the answer. There was nothing that could explain Isaac's extreme change in appearance other than a magic camouflage suit. But why? The being in Isaac's essence was staring at something else, with countless eyes all bulging bright red, as if he didn't even care about Dorothy. The full moon was where their eyes were all facing at once, and that the full moon was a demon. Dorothy realized with the power of Thousands of Things, this one is for that little chicken owl. Only then did she know. In Isaac's essence, an unknown existence is hostile to the demons. It's been a tough life. The existence and the essence of Isaac who began to memorize the chant. As soon as the intro rang, goosebumps ran down Dorothy's spine. This is dangerous. Dorothy poured her magic power at her maximum output and placed a powerful starlight shield on herself. Isaac was going to use a powerful magic that could destroy this world. It seemed that Dorothy's mana was not being sensed because she was concentrating on casting the spell. In other words, Dorothy herself has to protect herself from Isaac's magic. Fernando didn't have to keep. Because Isaac has already prepared the safest means called Freeze Shield. In case you have any questions, you can refer to ewumtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Nothing was left with me. In case you have any questions, you can refer to ewumtel.com for references. I dedicate this to Silky Goat. Nothing had any meaning in my life. Prayed at Noble Metal. Calm. In the old days, it was said that he knew all about the elemental properties of ice. The magic that a woman, who was called Ice Ice and Witch with a Scythe, created it with her life, because even the name does not remain. The wretched words of an archmage who could not find the meaning of life in anything else in this world. A young song filled with grief and resentment at the end of his life. The atrocious catastrophe that put the world into an ice age for 100 years. Soon, the light blue magic circle begins to be realized in succession, just as the gears follow the gears behind Isaac in the form of a berserker. Loneliness. You were the only one by my side. He was not drunk on the glory of invincibility alone. There was no meaning to fame. The Owl of the Twilight did spread its wings and realized it. A huge octopus floating in space sensed the crisis and began to hit it with its feet. Vibrating air. A huge octopus foot, which can easily subdue an army of monsters, falls with a violent pounding sound. The scenery of the beautiful night sky disappears, and the surroundings are colored with shadows. In this world, only you, in the dark, even as octopus feet attack the world. A group of magic circles are irregularly engraved into the air. Behind all the magic circles, a huge magic circle that seems to touch the sky draws a trajectory. Brilliance shines on. Isaac stretches his right arm upwards. A large amount of ice mana swirled and clumped together, becoming the cold sun shining a light blue light. The cold sun quickly became enlarged and even surpassed the sky. It's hell. As the unknown monster in nature said so, Isaac lowered his arm. The cold sun began to fall on the hordes of monsters that began to look like ants. And it was a moment. Ice Hell Ice Attribute. 9. A beam of light pierces through the clouds where the cold sun is set. He drove away the darkness and found a blue light in the sky. In the blink of an eye, the sea froze, and an extreme cold wave raged and ravaged the world. Freeze of death raging, wind and cold snow. Thousands of ice spikes soared up without a footstep and penetrated the already frozen monsters. A beam of light spread out in all directions, engulfing everything. Tuck. The night sky turned into a white night. Hanging hell. As the name suggests, this world, cold scorching winds and freezing temperatures spread, turning into a hell of extreme cold that kills anyone who sets foot in it. An army of monsters and abandoned buildings were destroyed with the explosion of a beam of light. The giant octopus outside the sky was frozen solid and time seemed to stand still. Dorothy and Fernando couldn't keep their mouths shut. What did I just see? Even if it exceeded expectations, it went far beyond that. Dorothy's starlight shield was torn apart, even though he was far away from Isaac. Even though it was a shield made by pouring out the maximum amount of magical power. Even though he controlled and blocked the natural forces around him. It was not difficult to imagine a scene in which he would have been annihilated if he ran to Isaac like an army of monsters and was hit with hanging hell. Huh. Fernando burst out laughing as if it was ridiculous. The overwhelming strength of the man standing in front of him evoked a sense of emptiness rather than admiration. I don't know why, but I was very fortunate to know that one of those monsters was on my side. I couldn't keep my mind intact any longer. In relief, Fernando gave up consciousness and collapsed. How? Lipa was less affected by hanging hell. He must have been watching this world from a farther away than anyone else. Still, his full moon body was frozen in spots because of its gigantic shape. It was reflected in the eyes of Isaac and Dorothy. Soon, Isaac bent his knees and kicked the ice. Coo! I started running towards the full moon. Coo! 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 Isaac jumps off the ice every time he takes each step. So after a while, he takes the next step and runs on the ice. To Lifa, it was like the sound of death approaching. Isaac took one step at a time as his driving force and then jumped like a rocket towards the full moon. Oh, no! Go away! Don't come! A deep fear enveloped Lifa. The survival instinct was raging. That guy is dangerous. That guy is dangerous. That can't be beat. It is not something that is meant to win. How could such a thing exist? How could there be such an out-of-standard monster in this academy? The only one who could deal with such a thing was the evil god. Nefide-sama. Isaac raises Frostflame in both hands, exhales it behind his body, and traverses hanging hell at high speed. Frostfire gave him momentum as it rose wide enough to cover the frozen sea. It was great speed. I couldn't follow Isaac with my eyes. Don't come Even if the distance was a little closer, Isaac's magic would be able to reach Lifa. Lifa was terrified and cried out and solved fictional hell. It was to run away. Clang. The world disappears piece by piece like a broken window. In an instant, light covers everything, and fictional hell is released and bizarre purple mana scatters into the air. All those who were in it returned to the outside world. The pleasant and ordinary scenery of the rooftop of the Duke Hall was reflected in their eyes. Whoops. Rumbling. As soon as fictional hell was released, a wall of dark red flames rose and split the middle of the roof. Flame wall fire attribute. 4 plus black flame fire attribute. 5. And black flame wall fire attribute. In the meantime, Lifa tried to run away quickly. Ice wall ice attribute. 4. Droopy rumbling. Walls of ice rose from all directions, blocking the road and creating ceiling, blocking even the option of flying and escaping. And chin caught. Isaac's hand broke through the flames and grabbed Lifa's head. As soon as he took off the mask and lowered the hood, Isaac had regained his original appearance and voice. Ice generation ice attribute. 1. The ice that Isaac created lightly ignored the superiority and inferiority of matchmaking and put out the flames. Die! Lifa trembled and looked at the overwhelming monster with her second eye. Yeah. For a moment, Lifa doubted her own eyes. Semi-curly silver hair with a hint of bluish energy, and chilly red eyes. The weakest among the weakest in the first year of the Marchand Academy School of Magic, which was rated as an E-class magical power. A candidate who could not be considered a hindrance more than anyone else. That's why I didn't even watch him fight. E-class. How are you? Man. To let you know that I've been through a lot, then I've been going non-stop with this practice for nothing, and this belonged to Huehue. My mind started to get mixed up. Lifa couldn't quite comprehend the situation. Isaac started condensing ice mana on his left hand without answering. The magic circle of freeze explosion was embodied in front of him. Lipa was terribly surprised. Sad. Please save me. Save me. Please. Sad voice. However, Lifa's desperate cry only echoed helplessly in a small space made of ice wall